Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. The JAMODI podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products. Tell me a little bit about the personality trait inventory that you do.
It's got 4 different segments to it. It's got we stole it from God, I can't even think of the guy's name, but it's a Baylor thing that we had borrowed from the Baylor guys during the COVID years. I got real intentional about studying it when I saw them do it and talk about it. Alvin Brooks and I talked about it a little bit. Bill Peterson and I talked about it a little bit. And we've just kind of worked it into what we do. And it just kind of like I said earlier, it just kind of lets the guys understand more about their personality, like whether you're, I can't even remember all the different categories, but, whether you're an A-type personality and you're a driver and you're out in front and you're going to be the guy that goes and does everything, or whether you're more of a laid-back guy, a compliant guy, you're going to do exactly what you're supposed to, but you're not going to give a whole lot more than exactly what you're supposed to. This is who I am, coach, and this is what you're going to get, but you're going to get it every day. And that consistency could be very, if it's enough, that consistency is fantastic.
Yeah.
If it's not enough, then you're going to find a lot of frustration in your life because there's going to get days that you get exposed because you're not doing enough. There's the guys that are very organized, that are very, they're going to do exactly what you tell them to do. So if you give a set play, they're going to be exactly right. And they're going to do exactly what they're supposed to do, but their creativity may not be there. They may not be a person that, can demand the ball and go make plays at the end of a shot clock because that's not who they are. They're going to run the play exactly what coach said. And so it starts letting them feel. And there's a lot of things about that personality test that says you can have a dominant personality, and then you can kind of have a 2.0 on the court. You might be a little bit different than who you are off the court. And so you got to start finding all those different dynamics and putting them together. And it helps you understand yourself, but also in turn, it helps me understand Johnny over here, who's my teammate. And it helps me understand that I'm sitting in a timeout and I can't yell at this kid, because if I yell at him, his response is going to be to shut down as opposed to listen to me.
Yeah.
And then this other kid, if I need to get him going and I yell at him, he's going to respond to that. That's not going to be a problem for him, and he's going to bounce right back and be able to help us, and we're going to end up, we'll have a good positive turn if we need that in a game.
Is that a test that you can download? Is it something that you can share, or like how would it?
People could get if and I'll be happy if you want to email me. I'll be happy to share the notes that I have. Now I'm not telling you. I think there's also a video out. I might be able to even dig out the video and stuff. But I would be much more happy to do that for everybody. I'll be and share it, because then I can give the right. I can give the people props that have done it. And
so let's do this. If you can find it, if you can find the video and share, I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
When we put this episode out, because I do think that's like as part of the motivation of doing this, it's not just what you do, but how you do what you do. And so you do personality inventory. Awesome. But if I don't know, if I can't learn like specifically what you're doing, then I mean, I guess there are ways where you can just go find one. But if you happen to have one that works and you like, and golly, coach, I think that's huge. You nailed it, because you said it's important for the players to know more about themselves. Absolutely. That self-awareness is huge, but really important for us to know how to push, because that example of in a timeout, like that you're right on the money.
Right.
So we just talked about meeting with players, and I agree. The meeting with players and confidence are intertwined a little bit. So let's go into, so you have this great relationship with your players, and because of the meetings that you have, when you start to see their confidence, sometimes borderline insanity, but most of the time it droops and it's starting to take away from their performance. What do you do to help them build it up?
This game can be so rewarding, and then it can also expose you and make you feel terrible, or make you feel like you're not worthy. Um, our belief at Kilgore is, confidence comes from demonstrated ability, and so you have to work. And we've been very fortunate. I was told yesterday, our point guard this year was an All-American, second team All-American this year, and that's our sixth All-American in the last 10 years. And what I've tried to teach, and what I try to hold our guys accountable to is, you got to become the best version of yourself. Not every one of my All-Americans has been like a high major player. One of them went to UTA, one of them went to Tulsa. Um, one's been to Cincinnati, Ole Miss. So we've had a little bit of every level. But what they all did was they tapped themselves out as players. They were the best version of who they were. And that came from their work habits. It came from their time in the gym that they spent perfecting their craft, working on their craft. Well, that's where confidence comes from. So we talked about this earlier. You got to watch the game. You're going to gain more confidence because you're going to have a feeling of what you're supposed to do. You got to spend the time in the gym individually or with a second teammate and a coach, and you got to get through the workouts that bring confidence to footwork, shot selection, just the different things that you're going to be good at. So you're playing to your strengths on the court and doing what you do. And that's also what grows your game. It allows you to become better off the dribble, spot shooter, finishing around the basket, whatever that is that maybe it's ball handling. Maybe it's a defensive philosophy and you've got to work on cutting a dribbler off or help side defense or whatever it is. You've got to spend the time doing the work. And then that's got to carry over to the team philosophies of what you're trying to do. And that comes into practice every day in what we're asking you to do and what we're coaching and what we're doing. It's my responsibility to put you in the best place to be successful. It's my responsibility to put the ball in the right guy's hands in the right times and let the right people play and give them some freedom and all that kind of stuff. You earn that freedom and you earn that confidence in what you do off the court. And so, truthfully, as we've been talking about truth all day, you can't fake that.
That's right.
You cannot not do the work or shortchange the work or take shortcuts and then be the elite player that you want to be. And I think that's what our program has evolved to. And some of the things that we're having to help kids understand when they get here is, if you're not going to do the work, then you better be careful what results you expect. And I used to do that with my two boys all the time. We'd go to the gym and we'd start shooting and they'd miss. And I'd be like, why are you upset? You haven't shot for 2 weeks.
I know exactly what you've been doing every day.
Yeah, I know you haven't been in the gym. So why are you upset about missing shots? Because you haven't been shooting shots. I said, if you want to put time in, then you can have a reaction.
And you earn the right to be a little frustrated when you know you put in the time. Yeah.
Yes. And so I just think it's all tied into, we call it time spent. I mean, it's all tied into your time spent. The more you stack days, good days, and the better your routine is, the more time you spend, the more confident you're going to be.
And then it's up to the players too, to make sure they're spending the time on the right things. And because they need to know what your expectations are. They need to know the style of play. It goes back to IQ and watching. They need to know where shots are going to come from. Sometimes as coaches, we can tell them that, but golly, how many times I have open gyms here and I like to get, like, it's just freedom. They can train and do the things that they want. And they're working on things that in my head, I'm thinking, that's not going to happen. Like that's just not a situation we're going to be in. But maybe in their select team it is, and the dangers too of, I mean, I love watching Steph Curry and Luka and all these things, but how often do we get to, like Luka does, stand in a split and go between our legs 5 times in space on a 7-footer and then step back 3 at the end of the shot clock? So are we working on playing on things? And part of that comes from having confidence in our coaches and coaches knowing, or players knowing what is expected of them.
Matt, it's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday every week for 30 minutes. We tell our guys all the time, tell me the 5 things that make me play you. What are the 5 things that force me to put you on the floor and will not allow me to take you off the floor? And when you can convince your guys, I mean, like I tell this story. I had a young man play for me. His name was Chris Grisella, and he had a great 2-year career here. Back around 2013, he was on our championship team in 2013. And his sophomore year, he got off to just a roaring start. He was shooting it really well. He was just playing well. He was a great rebounder at about 6'3". He could really guard. And one of the guys on our team asked him, one of the freshmen said, "Why are you playing so well?" And he looked at him. I remember hearing his response, and he said, "I'm playing well because coach told me to do 3 things, and I do those 3 things every day. I feed the post, I make open shots, and I defend and rebound. And because coach has asked me to do that, that's what I'm focused on every day." And he was playing great. And it just lodged in my head, 10, 12 years ago. And I just thought, God, if you can teach a kid that my expectations it's just a handful. I'm not trying to make you do a dozen things great.
Here's a notebook. Be great at all of these things. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want 5 things. And if we can find the right complement of players on our team that all do some different things well, and they all do their 5 things really well, how hard are we going to be to beat? How difficult is because we're going to play well every night. We're not going to beat ourselves because we're all playing to the best version of who we are. And so those meetings, although they encompass a lot of different areas, it gives me time to reinforce what 5 things are you playing? Here are the 5 things. What are you doing? And then if they don't like it, we can talk about it. We can talk about
it's our safe space. We can bring that up.
They don't always like it, but that's the truth too. It's like I tell them, I'm telling you the truth of what we need right now.
And if they know that you care about them, I mean, then they shouldn't fear some ulterior motive or that you're against them in some way. Golly, you're both trying to get to the same place, which is the player in position to help the team win. And so there has to be that trust. Coach, I love that you shared that, because when I hear it, I feel like there's a part of me, and maybe other coaches feel this way, of they hear you talk about that your players need to know those things that help. And I think, golly, I wish my players, like they should know you are, I kind of always turn it around. If the players don't know what things I expect from them to help us win and for them to play, it's not their fault. Like, that's my fault. Yes. How often as coaches do we not clearly define those 3 things, those 5 things, but yet we're frustrated. He doesn't crash. He will not crash. Coach, he won't crash. I don't understand why he didn't crash. Have you sat him down and said, "Listen, I will play you. You will earn more time. You will be hard for me to take off. You will add value to our team if you will offensively crash the boards, not 50% of the time, every possession."
Yeah.
I mean, golly, you set that standard. I don't know, Coach. Maybe they meet it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As coaches, our teams are what we emphasize every day. I'm sure that's a cliche that's been used a lot in your.
But it doesn't mean it's wrong, Coach.
No, it doesn't. I mean, this game, it's like I try to tell our teams, every one of them, is that this game is there's not a lot of ways to win and a lot of ways to be successful. There's the path, and there's the road, and there's the way. There's different concepts, and there's different styles and things like that, but you still have to do the work, and you still got to do the right work, and you got to have the right emphasis on the right things, whatever they are. And so, we've got our things that are non-negotiable in our program, just like everybody does, and you try to adhere to those and try to give your teams the best chance to win every night.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.